4 years ago, I spoke about Parshat Vayeshev, this week's Parsha, as a candidate for the position of assistant rabbi at Temple Beth. So I thought it might be really exciting to look back at the same exact verse that I used 4 years ago and now drash upon it and expound upon the teaching in today's role and today's day. Walking down the street, anyone you pass by is an anonymous person. Sure, they have a name, they have an identity, possibly a religion, values they stand by, a family to tell stories about, etc. But to you, the person on your way to run errands or meet up with a friend, they are as anonymous to you as you are to them. It's hard to admit, but there are people much closer to you in life who are also anonymous. A person for whom your only interaction is, "How are you?" And they respond, "Fine, thank you." That person is anonymous. You might know their name, but you don't know them. And they are transactional in your life, not a relational figure. Is it important that everyone we encounter is known to us? Would it even be possible or practical? Probably not. But it is important that those we want to identify as being close to, including family and friends and colleagues, are not absent-mindedly neglected or dealt with superficially, like someone who is anonymous. In this week's Parsha Vayeshev, we begin the famous Andrew Lloyd Webber storybook for the musical of Joseph. Joseph, one of Jacob's sons and known to us as the favorite, flaunts his status in front of his brothers and they become jealous and angry. Jacob sends Joseph off to check on his brothers and see how the flocks are doing and to return with news. Vayomer lo lech na re'eh et shalom achecha ve'et shalom hatzon v'hashiveni davar v'yishlachehu me'emek Chevron v'yavo Shchema. When Jacob reaches Shem in verse 15 of chapter 37, Joseph happens upon a man. Vayimsa'ehu ish, literally translated as a man was caused to find Joseph. Vehine to'eh besadeh, and behold, he was wandering in the fields. Veyish alehu ha'ish le'emor ma tevakesh. And he asked him, the man, "What do you request?" We often come to translate this differently. Joseph finds a man and the man asks, "What are you looking for?" The answer that Joseph gives is et achai anochi mevakesh. My brothers I request. Please tell me, where are they shepherding? The man explains that they went towards Dotan, and that is how Joseph finds them and then ends up in a pit. This is by no means to say that it was the anonymous man's fault that Joseph ended up in a pit. No, that is the fault of Joseph's brothers, Joseph and their parents. But Joseph wants something from his brothers, and the unnamed man seems to intuit this. Is Joseph seeking only to find his brothers or to find them for a particular purpose? This anonymous man, what was his role? Seemingly, he was that of a GPS or that of that Israeli sitting on their porch when you're lost in the old city and when you ask for directions, they give them so quickly, seemingly all yashar, yashar, that you're more confused than ever before you asked. This anonymous man answers a question with an answer. So is that it? Done? Joseph met a guy, got what he needed from the interaction and moved on. We all do this, and it's not wrong. But most of those interactions would not end up in our life story, like it does here in the Torah. Our rabbis tend to identify unnamed characters as angels. For example, the three people who happen upon Abraham, three angels of God, our rabbis say. Rashi says the anonymous man is the same Gavriel who, with the two other angels, visited Abraham, Michael, Raphael, and Gavriel. Ramban, Nachmanides, goes so far as to say that we are sure this is an angel because Joseph needed to be guided into the hands of his brothers. However, my favorite commentary by Ha'amek Hadavar begins with a question. How did this anonymous man know who Joseph was, and therefore who his brothers were, who Joseph was searching for? Could it be that the area was so empty that no one else had passed by? According to Andrew Lloyd Webber, yes, but not in reality. Either Joseph was so well known that the stranger knew who he was looking for, or the man was not anonymous, and Joseph knew to ask him for help. So why is he not named if he's not anonymous? The anonymous man comes upon Joseph seemingly because he looks lost. But only then does Joseph ask for help. What would have happened had the anonymous man not addressed Joseph? Earlier this week, we heard yet again of the tragic news of someone in our sphere who died by suicide. This time a person that I did not know personally, but who the world knew as Twitch. A dancer, producer, partner to Ellen DeGeneres, and a father and husband. Twitch was 40 years old, and when the news of his cause of death flashed on our screens, many rushed to post hotlines and help groups and the call number of 988 to help anyone who is in danger of taking their own life or self-harm. It is easier now than ever to be anonymous, a news anchor said. We can sit behind our pictures, our words, our short quotes, and blast them out to the world to be seen. But really, we're not known to anyone who does not go beyond those forms of hidden interaction. Sure, aspects of social media are used for wonderful things, such as PR, advocacy, keeping in touch with long-lost relatives and friends. And it can be fake and share a story on the outside that is not actually meeting the still anonymous person hidden deep inside. Ellen, one of Twitch's closest friends, mentors, and as he called her, family, said in a video when he left her show that each day without him is just not as bright. Even with the love, support, and fame, he was suffering from mental health challenges that made that anonymity seem more like reality than plague. Our anonymous man finds Joseph in a moment where Joseph is seeking his brothers for his father and to bring back news, yes. But I think he was requesting his brother's love, support, kindness, understanding, recognition to be seen. This is not a case of mental health challenges, and so it cannot be compared to a death or struggle like the one I mentioned previously. However, the feeling of being anonymous can lead people to act in ways that are found in extremes. The value of paying it forward is a beautiful way of taking the role of anonymity to an extent of making someone's day, because kindness is a holy virtue. So too, studies show that those who feel anonymous in crowds and have a history of aggressive behavior are more likely to become violent. Say their names to save their lives has become a slogan in the diaspora Iranian community to help save Iranians from being executed, murdered, or erased after being captured by the Islamic Republic. Elika Laban, an Iranian attorney from England, asks her followers on social media platforms to, quote, say their names to save their lives, because there is evidence that international notoriety can save someone from summary execution. She makes videos and posts that others have now started to imitate or share about anyone she hears of who is in danger for their life by the Islamic Republic. There are people who need to be taken out of their anonymous state to save their lives. Being famous in this respect is an act of being seen. This is a kind of celebrity that saves lives, making someone who is at political risk more well-known, recognizable, and heard. Hanukkah is both the holiday of light and of uplifting the anonymous person. When we sing Hanerot Halalu, there is a line that reminds us that we are not permitted to use the lights Ve'ein lanu reshut lehishtamesh bahem. We have no permission to use them. Ela lirotam bilvad. Only to see them, to look at them. This is the opposite of our Shabbat candles that we must use to find ways to delight in. The mitzvah of our Hanukkah candles are for others to see, Pirsumei Nisa, to publicize the miracle, and allow those anonymous passers-by to see the power, the light, and know the story of our resilience. These candles also then become anonymous to us. We don't get to use them for anything except their function of publicizing a story. I love that the rabbis wanted us to publicly display the Chanukiah so that people would stop by a house and ask, what is that for? Why do you light those candles? We, the Jewish people, are not anonymous. Breaking down the barriers of anonymity of the story of our neighborhood and of the candles, and bringing us closer to building relationships and finding that which we seek. This Hanukkah, while appreciating the lights of the Chanukiah, consider those darker, unknown corners. Plan to seek them out, help them out, and to see them better. Our anonymous man in the Joseph story allows for the story to happen at all. Joseph needed to be found and recognized. Whether the man was known to him or not, Joseph utilized him transactionally, yet the interaction was relational in outcome, and he should have been named. Our Hanukkah mitzvah is just to be, to do nothing after we light our candles but acknowledge the passerby, the anonymous multitude that will hopefully learn and relate to our story of triumph and miracle. We are to be present for one another and leave the candles alone. Spend time with those we love. Acknowledge those who allow us to feel known and work on how we can build relationships to bring in those for whom we still interact with as anonymous. Too many of us feel anonymous on the inside and act well-known and confident on the outside. Only once we are found and asked, "What do you request?" do we leave our path of anonymity and become known and cherished. Thank the people who do this for you in your life, and strive to reach out to those to whom you are still walking by, anonymously, and not asking, "What do you seek?" It could change their life, or at least their path.